Enjoy reading the story on Manga Funny channel.
In the previous episode, we reached the point where she disguised herself as a palace eunuch to enter the palace, assigned to bring food to the emperor. In this part, let's continue with the story. She lined up with the eunuchs serving food to the emperor. While she was casually looking around, she was startled to hear a voice calling from within. In her mind, she thought, "Who is he calling?" At that moment, the emperor looked at her and said, "Come here." His face was stern as he added, "Don't make me say it a third time." At this time, she still didn't understand what was happening. She bowed her head and thought, "Is he calling me? He probably doesn't recognize me, right?" At that moment, he stepped out of the bath and walked to where she was standing. She asked, "What are your orders, Your Majesty?" He thought to himself, "Maybe I'll play around with the Empress a little. Let's see what trick she's up to." He approached her and replied, "Ah, this little eunuch of yours is quite handsome." At this point, he had already recognized the Empress disguised as a eunuch and thought, "This Empress, what chaos does she intend to cause now?" He said, "All of you, leave." Sensing that something wasn't right, she wondered, "Why is everyone leaving? Why am I the only one left here?" She panicked. Oh, could it be that this emperor's tastes are so peculiar? Is he a homosexual? He grabbed her arm and pulled her into the bath, causing her to fall in. He then lifted her up, and as water got into her nose, she coughed a few times. At that moment, her hat fell off, letting her long hair cascade down. He moved closer, lifting her chin in front of him, and said, "Empress, instead of resting peacefully in your palace, you come disguised as a eunuch to my quarters. What is your intention?" Perhaps he had recognized her from the start, but he just wanted to toy with her a bit. Now she realized, "So you have recognized me all along, and here I thought this homosexual was doing something to provoke me. Ow, it hurts. This vile junior, such unfilial behavior. For Emperor Lu, I will endure." She said, "Why am I here? Aren't you the one who understands that best?" He said, "Qing Yao, what exactly is your purpose?" His hand gripping her chin caused her pain, and she thought, "He is so rough. If you started something, you must see it through. Even if I die today, I must bite Emperor Lu." With that, she moved forward and placed a kiss on his lips, thinking, "This pure dragon energy, it's 1,000,000 times better than incense used for worship. Let me take a couple more breaths. Consider it your junior paying respects to me." But he ruthlessly pushed her away, wiping his lips with his hand, unsure of what she was thinking, while she licked her lips as if she had achieved her goal, but still not satisfied. He shouted, "Someone there!" Deshawn entered through the door and asked, "What are your orders, Your Majesty?" Di Shan thought, What is this? Why do the Emperor's lips look like they are torn? Why is the Empress wearing the clothes of a eunuch? Why does Her Majesty the Empress look like a demoness who has successfully absorbed the yin from the sun? Why does the Emperor look like a young wife who has been taken advantage of and is too ashamed to be angry? He said, "Take the Empress back to Phoenix Orchid Palace and guard her strictly. From now on, without my permission, she is not allowed to leave Phoenix Orchid Palace." Deshawn replied, "Yes." She waved her hand and said, no need. It's too troublesome, Your Majesty. I will return to my palace myself." Deshawn thought, "Empress, please stop talking. Can't you see that our Emperor's face is about to drip with ink?" Then he looked at her closely, then covered her with a cloth and said, "An Empress should look like an Empress." He also draped a cloak over himself and turned away. She thought, "It's good to have clothes to wear. The original owner's body is really too weak. If I fall into the lake again like last time and catch a cold, it's really not worth it." Then she said, "I would like to express my gratitude to the Emperor for your sympathy." The National Master of the Grand Dynasty is Lin Si. At this moment, inside the National Master's residence, on a cool, windy night, the Master was sitting and reading. Suddenly, a servant rushed in excitedly and said, National Master, I have good news, extremely good news. He asked, What is it? The servant, still catching his breath, said, Sir, I soon heard 2 eunuchs talking on the way back. Today, the Empress disguised herself as a eunuch to seduce the Emperor. It has spread throughout the palace. He responded coldly, a hint of sadness in his eyes, and said, Is that so? He recalled, the day the Empress fell into the water, it was the Emperor who saved Her Majesty. The Emperor? Why is the Emperor staring at me with such an unhappy look? Perhaps the Emperor's actions that day moved the Empress. At this moment, Ashun said, If the Empress had realized this earlier, it would have been so much better. To have been entangled with you for so long for no reason, it makes ordinary people have to be cautious when going out. Lin Shi replied, It would be good if she understood. Preview of the next episode: Destroy this place. Fighting for favor in the harem is not good. Concubine Hui arrives. Her Majesty really has a refined taste. Why don't you quickly tie up this wretched woman for me? Yes. In the previous episode, we reached the point where Lin Shi and Ashin talked about Empress Qin Yao. Let's continue the story from here. At this moment, the Empress was strolling in her palace's garden when Peach Fairy appeared behind her and said, Hey woman, your seduction skills are really poor. Even after what happened yesterday, nothing came of it. She angrily replied, What? Last night was just an accident. Next time, I'll bring some aphrodisiac, and I'll definitely make it work. Peach Fairy retorted, No need for excuses. If it didn't work, it just didn't. Accept your fate. Just then, a voice came from outside, announcing, The Imperial Concubine Hui arrives, which made her stop in surprise. Concubine Hui, along with many attendants, quickly approached the Empress. Upon arriving, Hui said, The Empress truly has refined taste. The Empress replied, Sister, you've applied your makeup a bit too thick today. Is it because you fell while chasing after the Emperor's favor yesterday and hurt your face? Hui shouted, You dare mock me? What are you waiting for? Do you expect me to do everything myself? She turned to the servants and pointed at the Empress, signaling them to handle her. The Empress then said, You dare to cause trouble here? Aren't you afraid of the Emperor's punishment? Hui thought, The Qin family's influence has waned. They're not even as powerful as my father. I don't believe the Emperor would punish me over Qin Yao. Hui shouted, Aren't you listening to what I'm saying? Today I must ruin the face of this vixen. Let's see how she'll seduce the Emperor after that. Why don't you quickly tie up this wretched woman for me? The attendants obeyed, rushing toward the Empress. Suddenly the Empress called out, Your Majesty, and darted toward the Emperor so quickly that the attendants lost sight of her. Where's she? Hui turned back in surprise to see the Empress already holding on to the Emperor. The Emperor said, Qin Yao. He thought, Who gave this woman the gall to repeatedly flout the rules and disrespect me like this? The Empress then said, Your Majesty, I am truly terrified. She's been bullying me. I'm so scared. He thought, Scared? I haven't seen it, but your feigned fear is quite convincing. The Emperor said, If only the other concubines had half the courage and resolve of the Empress, the little princes and princesses would already be frolicking all over the palace. Suddenly, the Emperor grabbed the Empress by her shoulders and lifted her up in front of everyone. She thought, You despicable upstart. How dare you lift me up in front of everyone like this? The Emperor said, Stay still, stop shaking. He thought, I thought this woman had no shame, but her embarrassed look is quite amusing. Just then, Hui came forward to greet the Emperor, Your Majesty. The Emperor looked at the servants and said, Dishan, take them away and beat them to death. Hui thought, Your Majesty, killing a chicken to scare the monkeys? Is this a warning for me? But why? What does Qin Yao have to rely on? She then pleaded, Your Majesty, please spare my life. Your Highness, save us, Your Highness. The Empress thought, My instincts aren't wrong. Xuanyuanji's grandson has a truly cruel temperament. His murderous intent is too strong. It will surely taint his imperial aura, which could hinder my own ascension." She then said, "Your Majesty, is this acceptable?" "What does the Empress wish to say?" He thought. "I want to see what other trouble you can stir up." She thought, "You despicable junior. How dare you look at me with that mocking gaze?" She then said, "Your Majesty, they haven't injured me. There's no need for death. A few dozen lashes should suffice." She noticed no reaction from the Emperor. "Sk, why no reaction?" Then she said, "Your Majesty, please agree with me. Let them go, will you?" He replied, "If it weren't for ensuring my path to divinity is clear, I wouldn't bow to your loathsome kin." She tried to remain calm and thought, "On what basis does the Empress think I'll agree to spare them? Don't be angry. Think of the dragon's spirit. Think of Emperor Lu. Life is like a play. We meet because of fate. It's not easy to support each other until old age, so we must value it. Getting angry over trivial things is not worth it. Others may rage, but I must stay calm. For anger brings disaster and no one will help." Then she said, "If I rage, would it please someone else? Besides, it drains both spirit and strength." He said, "Very unattractive. What did you say?" He repeated, "The Empress's smile is so hideous, it's unbearable." After speaking, he turned away. She thought, "Suppress fury, deep breaths. Inhale, exhale. Stay calm, Qinyao, you can do this. You're merely a founding monarch with all the power. What haven't I endured before? I must hold back. I mustn't strangle him." He said, "From now on, the Empress shouldn't smile carelessly at others to avoid sullying others' sight and dishonoring the imperial family." Inwardly, she could hardly contain her rage. "This insolent junior, execute him," she said. "Rest assured, Your Majesty, from now on I won't smile at you, so as not to sully the dragon's vision." He asked, "Is that my intention?" At that moment, the Empress let go of his hand. He asked, "Did I ask you to release?" She couldn't understand what was happening. Next episode preview: the parents arrive. Has the ancestor's identity been revealed? The next episode is thrilling. What? Your Highness, please rise. The old master and madam are waiting in the main hall. But the Qin couple aren't so easily deceived. What if they notice something amiss? I can't just say, I am your ancestor.